Hello everyone and welcome back to Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us. Today it's my distinct pleasure to have on review the EPZ K9. I'd like to title this review as Open Fields. EPZ continues to release earphones at a moderate pace. From what I've heard of their products, and I've heard a few of their products, they are very capable of releasing well-tuned IEMs of good quality. The K9 comes in at $400 USD and is placed in the upper range of their present product line. Its driver complement consists of a single dynamic driver paired with 8 balanced armatures, all under the watchful eye of a dedicated crossover. All of this, of course, is housed in a very attractive shell. Resin, I believe this is aluminum on top with a nice embedded color scheme, as we can see there. The K9 is a wonderful sounding and versatile IEM that delivers a full and clean sound from top to bottom. It's suitable for all genres of music. It's quite pliable, very flexible. Is it perfect? Well, let's delve in a little bit deeper. Specs. Drivers, we have a single dynamic driver and 8 balanced armatures. The dynamic driver for bass is an 8mm PEK and plus PU composite diaphragm. The mid-range uses two 32-257 composite dual balanced armature drivers, and the treble uses 2 customized 31-7-35 composite dual balanced armature drivers. Impedance is at 14 ohms, and sensitivity is 108 dB. The cable, which we'll see in a bit, is a 4-strand 6N single crystal copper cable, and the terminations are 0.78mm 2-pin, as we see right here. Build and fit. Well, I didn't receive the full package. I received the earphones in the case, and I did also receive the cable. The EPZ K9 is on the larger side of medium. Let me give you a quick look at it. It is a little bit chunky. There we have a port. It is quite a bit chunky in terms of its size. I wouldn't call it large, but it's just under large. So it's moderately large or a large medium. The resin shells are impeccably made, and the look of the faceplate adorned with a recessed decorative aluminum alloy backplate does look premium. The included cable, as I'll show you right now, put these off to the side, is of the fabric wrapped variety. Appears to be well made. Does come with a single termination. In this case, it is 4.4mm balanced, so it comes that way. As far as I know, this is the only cable I received with it. It, of course, is a 2-pin, 0.78mm. I didn't notice any undue microphonics or any kind of other misbehavior with the cable, and the quality is nice. Haptics are okay. It is a little bit stiffer considering from other fabric cables I've used, but nothing over the top, and didn't tangle all that easily. The included case is your EPZ, nicely branded, soft, pleather, as we call it, case, the interior of which is your standard fare. The color goes to the interior, nicely done, and the interior is lined with a velour lining. So all in all, the presentation is good. Again, I didn't receive the whole retail package, but I know EPZ to do well in that regard. Let's talk about the sound. Bass. The low end goes deep while exhibiting admirable control. Bass has a somewhat thick texture to it, yet it still retains enough speed and snap to sound, for the most part, agile. Listening to Angel by Massive Attack, all the power and drive were there. This is a track that has a very droning, driving bass track, but interestingly enough, the bass presents with a very audible texture, at least audible on the better IEMs. And with the K9, I did hear that texture, although I found it a little bit missing in terms of the retrieval of that texture. So bass is solid, powerful, pretty clean, but just a little bit less detailed than what I've heard recently, although still good. Considering the low end, the sub bass does enjoy some emphasis as compared to the mid bass. The mid bass is snappy sounding, agile, and clean as well. There is negligible mid-range bleed as everything tends to stay in its place. So the bass is good. It's solid when called for in the track. This is not a bass head IEM, but it's an IEM that has ample bass power when the track calls for it. That being said, the only thing I can say that is missing to some extent is just a little bit of detailing and texture retrieval. Mid-range. The mid-range is arguably the K9's strongest asset. Clean and open with great detail, the mids are well suited to long, enjoyable listening sessions. In particular, the lower mids, which had a touch of warmth to them. There's a good mix of micro and macro dynamics here and detail retrieval. And there's a sense that nothing in a track is missing. When you're listening to the K9 or listening to some other lesser IEMs, sometimes you feel that you're not hearing everything. But with the K9, there's that sense that you're hearing everything in the recording. What does help this along considerably is the layering and separation capabilities of the K9. Additionally, the mid-range does exhibit some warmth, as I mentioned before, which aids in the sonics, aids in the organic or the more natural flowing feeling of the mid-range. It's not totally a balanced mid-range. And there's an upper mid-range rise, or pin a gain, as it were. It is kept fairly in check. Harshness is kept to a minimum. But I also noted something, that the K9 wasn't the most forgiving when it comes to tracks of dubious recording quality. There are other IEMs tuned fairly similarly that do a lot better with tracks. One album I use is Anita Baker's Rapture. Fantastic album. Not the best recorded album, although I would call it good. Sweet Love, for example, the strikes of the cymbals and all that, there was a little bit of splashiness, but it wasn't heard on other albums such as, or tracks like He's a Karaoke by Eden Atwood. Fantastic sounding track, good track as well. But if you feed it well-recorded music, the K9 does sing very well. Transients and dynamics were well presented, and timbre was admirable. There is a slight emphasis, of course, going higher up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Treble. The K9 has a treble that is well extended with good energy. Air and sparkle are there in pleasing quantities, and detail retrieval is also very good. The K9 excels at projecting an open soundscape, and the treble with its clarity in no small part contributes to this. But I do have a gripe. And let me talk about the gripe here, about the K9. And it's really in the upper mids, I should say, or lower treble, or treble in general. My only gripe is that there's a small yet perceptible amount of what I would call glare in the lower treble and even higher up that at times did erode the natural playback heard. This was made even more apparent when directly comparing the K9 to, for example, the BGVP DMA, which I will compare it in this review. And only upon direct comparison, that is something that I heard. A glare, or not a haze, because everything is there. All the detail is there. Just an added sense of glare, almost like a glassy, more or more reflective kind of representation. But let's continue. Imaging and soundstage. The EPZ K9 throws up a moderately large soundstage that again is open with great instrument placement. The K9's layering and separation are on display here. Never did the soundstage sound confined or restricted. Imaging within that soundstage was also quite solid. Now, I'm going to go and compare it to an IEM that is under the radar, but unfortunately, if I have it on me, which I don't right now, we'll talk about the BGVP DMA. The DMA is not a new IEM. It came out, I believe, last year and has been around for a little while. That being said, at $300 or just under 300 USD, the DMA it's an enigma. It's something special, and it brings excellent performance to the stage. Bass is snappier than the K9, better texturing overall, but in the mid bass, they're very close to each other in terms of how the mid bass is presented. Clean, good speed, good transient attack, recovery. It's all there. When looking at the mid-range, both offer clear, open presentation. The DMA does sound slightly more energetic, but as with the K9, harshness was never an issue. The pinna gain on the DMA, even though it's a little bit more energetic in the mids as a whole, is probably a little bit better controlled. Not to say the K9 isn't, it is. But on direct comparisons, it is what it is. It's one thing, though, the DMA is more forgiving of poor recorded material. The upper mid-range and treble is where we see the differences. There's this kind of the glare, once again, effect heard with the K9 on a number of tracks. The DMA, this did not exist. That occasional sheen heard on the K9 and as such was more organic in its sound. When you compare them directly one to another, it became a distraction at times. In the treble, while the DMA has more energy, it sounds more controlled and natural. My pick between these two, unfortunately, would be the DMA, which costs less, but again, maybe harder to get. But both are excellent IEMs. The choice may have been different if I never compared them directly. So my conclusion of the K9 is as such. While I did have some reservations about the sound of the EPZ K9, this should not detract from the fact that it is a good IEM. It is a good IEM, very good. Coming in at approximately 400 USD, while it does face some stiff competition in that price range and maybe a little below, its obvious merits of an articulate, clean, and open sound should not be overlooked. That is my review of the EPZ K9, another good one. For me, it was okay. Direct comparison, once again, with the BGVP DMA did kind of throw a little water on the fire of the K9 when I first heard it, but still a very good IEM if you're in the market in that price range. Thanks again for watching this review. More to come. The next review is actually the BGVP DMA, so watch that. I will compare them once again. And continue to like, subscribe, and support the channel. This has been and is and will continue to be Silicon Sounds. Audio for the rest of us.